In August 2005, 5 young people decided to explore an unknown underwater cave on the side of Mount Y in Provo, known as the Cave of Death, and they had no idea of the deadly danger awaiting them inside. In the end, only one of them would be able to exit this cave. Our story begins on Wednesday, August 17th, where a group of 5 friends went out for dinner and ended up discussing the secret cave on the side of Mount Y. This mountain is located next to the campus of Brigham Young University. Therefore, many local students were aware of the existence of this cave. Although 2 years prior, 2 explorers went to the cave and informed everyone that it was dangerous because it was water-covered and only 1 meter and 20 in height, requiring those who entered the cave, they have to bend down and walk along the entrance tunnel, which is about 30 meters long, in a shallow stream before reaching the first chamber. For most hikers, this would not be a pleasant memory. But for those who know about the secret cave inside, the challenge might be tempting. To reach the secret part of this cave, you have to lower yourself through a water-filled hole, 48 centimeters by 54 centimeters on the ground. Even for those who know what lies on the other side, this terrifying moment can stop even the greatest explorers. That night, the group decided to test themselves in this dark and unappealing cave. It was 2 o'clock in the morning when they reached the cave area. They spent some time sitting outside before venturing into the shallow cave where Jennifer Gilbreth, 21 years old, had passed. She reassured her friends that they could dive and hold their breath for 4.5 meters through the water tunnel to the secret chamber without any problem. She was confident despite suffering from hypothermia and fainting the first time she tried her luck in the Cave of Death. She was still excited to show this secret place to her friends, and Blake Donner, 24 years old, and Scott McDonald, 28 years old, agreed. And Ariel Singh, 18 years old, on his experience, and the 5th friend, Joseph Ferguson, decided to wait outside the main cave. The 4 of them made their way to the small opening in the cave floor, and it was now 4:30 in the morning. It was very dark outside. One by one, they entered the narrow passage filled with cold water. Jennifer went first because she was the only one who had been there before. They watched her head disappear under the water, creating a small ripple as she moved to the other end of the water-filled tunnel, which was no bigger than a refrigerator door, measuring only 2 feet or 60 centimeters in width, and its height is 4 feet, which is 120 centimeters. They began to enter one by one. They followed the direction Jennifer pointed to, which was connected by a rope tied to a wooden peg in the main cave, leading them underwater. But the rope doesn't help much, as it is easy to lose it while diving, as happened with Brian Lambry, one of the cave adventurers, on his way back from the secret chamber. He lost the rope and collided at the end of the cave, barely surviving, and realized that the extra time this took made him sure he was just a fraction of a second from death. He was extremely lucky to find the hole in a fraction of a second. All 4 of them succeeded in reaching the small cave just 4.5 meters away. There was space for them to stand and move a little. The cave was 1 meter and 90 centimeters tall, of which 90 centimeters were not submerged in water, with about 2 meters and 60 above, where Joseph Ferguson sat waiting for his friends to return. He wasn't entirely sure how long they planned to stay in the cave, and no clear plan was set for that. He waited for an hour, then entered the cave and looked at the water pit, but there was no sign of an Andawi lamp or movement from the group. It was now 5:30, and he wasn't sure what to do. So he called some friends who were familiar with the cave. Then he finally called the police at 6:25 in the morning. And there is a theory that the 4 died due to high levels of nitrogen and carbon dioxide and low oxygen. Everyone who preceded them to the chamber consumed the existing oxygen, which does not replenish underground. There could have been only 20.9% oxygen, which would have been quickly used up after the group exited the water and replaced any good air with carbon dioxide. It was only a few minutes before they became short of breath and had difficulty thinking, making it harder for them to complete their swim back to the cave entrance. There was also evidence that candles were left burning, which would have reduced the available oxygen in the absence of airflow. She decided to return first but couldn't find the exit before losing all her breath. Natural air consists of 21% oxygen. In the cave, it was about 10%. The amount of air she could hold in her lungs was barely enough for 60 seconds, which is likely why she lost her breath and drowned before reaching the exit. In the cave, the other three were not aware that Jennifer was struggling alone in this dark passage after just 30 or 60 seconds. It was time for Ariel to go down, but there wasn't enough space for two people in the narrow passage, and she didn't have the energy and strength necessary. Even pushing Jennifer forward in a few moments, Ariel also found herself struggling for life. And at this stage, Blake and Scott were breathing bad air for several minutes in the dark, with reduced oxygen and increased carbon dioxide. After waiting for a short while, the next friend entered the narrow water-filled tunnel, not expecting the two girls to be dead. With the narrow tunnel, pushing the girls forward or passing was impossible. Finally, the last person, Scott, decided to go down after suffering the most from the contaminated air. As soon as the authorities arrived, it wasn't a simple task to try to rescue the friends who might be trapped in the inner cave, as they immediately pumped in air to attempt to restore any depleted oxygen levels. They simultaneously pumped some water to create an air pocket inside the tunnel, allowing the rescuers to enter once the water level dropped slightly, and they discovered Jennifer's body. They floated inside the tunnel directly after pumping for another hour, and found the other three friends, Ariel, Blake, and Squin, cut-faced the exit together. After the autopsies, it was confirmed that the cause of death was drowning and poor oxygen, because it is not expected for young people in full strength and health to die so easily. Their ages range from 18 to 22. After the bodies were removed, the cave was permanently sealed with concrete.